again, my name is Gibson Shamar, and we are here to talk about the show known as Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Yeah, that's right, we finished yet another Scooby-Doo cartoon, and this one is the last one. Our Scooby-Doo watch quest ends with this show, and it is an amazing way to end it with. So, you know the drill. We're going to talk about the characters, then talk about the show overall. Can we go for it? I know Hikati Media is ready to. First up, we have Fred Jones. Yeah, I know. The character order keeps shifting in every Scooby-Doo show talk. This Fred is a bit different from the previous Freds we got to know in the other shows. He's obsessed with traps and doesn't really think about much else apart from that. He's also a member of the high school football team. Well, I guess it's something that can be done with a character that hasn't been done before. In the beginning, he's oblivious to the fact that Daphne has a major crush on him. Seriously, I like how this guy goes about things. Whatever she talks about, the guy just brings up traps. You gotta love him. Then we have Daphne. She's much more developed in this show. She's a redhead. She's good. She's very good. She's very, very good. Sorry, where was I? Oh yeah, see, the show did away with her passive nature and made her a bit more forward and involved in the team's dynamic. She isn't just a damsel in distress like people say she was in the old cartoons. She has things going on in her life and has a distinct personality which, just like the other characters, is strong and enough to carry the stories she's involved in. She's confident but also vulnerable, both emotionally and physically. She gets saved a lot by Fred in the show. Next up, we have Velma. She came a long way. She's the brains of the operation. She's also a skeptic. She doesn't believe in the supernatural or anything and is always trying to find a rational, scientific explanation regarding the things that take place in their hometown of Crystal Cove. She's also very sure of herself and assertive compared to what we would see or the impression we would get of her in the previous shows. This is very evident in the way that she dealt with the relationship she had with Shaggy in the first season. She was controlling, but never in a condescending way. She was trying to improve him, or something. And it often fell on deaf ears because Shaggy never changes. She's also aware that she's not conventionally attractive, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't bother her when it's explicitly said to her. Well, at least she's smart. Then there's Shaggy. He has also been updated from previous iterations of the character. He's not some unreasonably scared person anymore. He's not a coward anymore. Now he's reasonably scared of the things that take place around them. He's not known for being a coward and is always on board for the traps that they're setting or for the mystery, unlike the previous versions where he's always scared or reluctant. He also has an unhealthy relationship with Scooby. One where he's scared of telling him that he has a girlfriend for some reason because he won't like to hear that. I mean, dude, he's your pet. Doesn't matter if he likes the fact that you're dating someone or not. You domesticate him. Why does he even have a say in that?
Sensational.
Anyway, he's a cool guy, still always hungry as usual, and is referred to as a hippie for the first time in this show. I'm glad that the cat's finally out of the bag. Lastly, on the good guy side, we have Scooby-Doo, the title character. He's also different in this show. He's a little less chatty than before, but still just as entertaining. They also abandoned the scared thing they had with him in the previous shows. He's brave and determined. He's fierce and loyal. Well, he was always loyal. The show spared no expenses when showing that he's a good dog, except in the way that he relates to Shaggy. I was really not a fan of that, and I don't think many people realized it as they watched the show. Then there are the members of the original Mystery Incorporated. First, we look at Mr. E, also known as Ricky Owens. He was the Shaggy of the group, the owner of the pet of the group, Professor Pericles. I'm not sure how the dynamic was, but he seems to be very different from what Shaggy is in the current Mystery Incorporated. It seems that he was the leader, or at least he is now. He's the only one who never let go of the past, aside from Pericles. He's dark, sinister, conniving, scheming, and underhanded. We have Angel Dynamite, also known as Cassidy Williams. She was a member of the original team as well and was likely the brains of the operation. She was the Velma of the group but then became a radio show host after the team disbanded. She helped the current Mystery Incorporated with their cases and watched their backs. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but we'll get to that. She's feisty, helpful, thoughtful, considerate, secretive, and very traumatized. Brad Childs and Judy Reeves. They're Fred's biological parents. They went on the run after the group disbanded and changed their identities. They started writing books about traps and helped mystery solvers. They were very annoyingly in sync. They had a weird dynamic which then turned even weirder when they started working against Fred and his friends. Their relationship seemed to be very superficial and shallow. Or maybe it was just them being affected by the curse. Then finally we have Professor Pericles. He's a parrot and a criminal mastermind. At first we had the impression that he was a victim of the faulty justice system, but he really was an evil mastermind. He was a nutcase. He was selfish, manipulative, cold, unsympathetic, merciless, and conceited. He truly deserved to be locked up like he was. Sheriff Bronson Stone was a cool guy for some time. He was the sheriff of the town and didn't like how the kids were running around, ruining the tourist attractions. These tourist attractions were the freaks and monsters that were supposedly haunting the town. He loved his job and took it very seriously. Okay, maybe he didn't. He used a lot of shortcuts and wasn't very good at putting two and two together. Also, his name is Sheriff Bronson Stone. Sheriff is his first name. Lastly, we have Hot Dog Water. Her name is Marcy Fleech. She was a villain in one of the episodes of the first season, then becomes something of an anti-hero in the second season, helping Velma put the team back together, then getting kicked out once they got together. She was one of the smartest in the school and often competed against Velma. Well, then they developed a close friendship after the season 1 finale, and it turned out that she was working with Mr. E. But then again, her friendship with Velma left her conflicted about that. So now that we have the main cast and some supporting characters done, we can move on to the show. What can I say? The show was amazing from start to finish. It was such a nice reinvention of the IP and totally meshed well with what was being done with traditional animation at the time. This show aired in the late 2000s, a time when cartoons were kind of growing up with the audiences. This was around the time we had Lunatics Unleashed, Ben 10 Alien Force, and Ultimate Alien, and others. Symbionic Titan came a bit later than these ones, but it was still in the same era. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated is a gem among gems, and should be treated as such. I'm glad that this show got made, and that I had the privilege to watch some episodes on television 10 years ago. Yeah, I know. I was a few years too late. What's important is that I got to watch it. It was really interesting to see characters have their own arcs and very distinct personalities. While most of the gang had their personalities expanded upon and became more complex, the one who suffered the most in this modernization was Fred. He wasn't a confident leader who was always leading them to new mysteries. He was a guy who was just obsessed with traps, usually waiting until the mystery stumbled upon the gang in order to do something about it. And even then, he'd kind of take the back seat because Velma was taking charge the whole time. I get that she's the brains of the gang, but we can have a difference between the brains and the leader. The show failed to deliver on that part. However, it did lead to some really cool stories. Some of the best stories were based on Fred's love for traps. My favorite episode was when they were trapped in a mansion and Fred had to play a sort of trap chess with their captor in order to free himself and Daphne. That episode felt like a movie, and it was definitely very intense. I wish I got to watch it as a kid, just so I could think about that later on in life, like now. The storyline was very cool. For the second time ever in the Scooby-Doo series, there's a main story for the show. This time the show was lucky enough to keep going all the way to conclusion, and that is a very good thing because this show deserved it. I do wish that it kept going because there was so much potential for future stories. They saved the day and created a new reality where their lives were never touched by the evil curse of Crystal Cove. Awesome! There are mysteries that need to be solved across the country, and there's a guy who knows about their situation. Awesome! So, why are we not making more? Oh, well, I guess we don't have to keep it going. We could, but it's not necessary. Mitch Watson, the producer and head writer, said that the show was intended to only have 2 seasons. That's good. That's a first, too. He had discussions with Cartoon Network about a potential 3rd season where the gang would be surprised by changes to the timeline despite it being a remake of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Warner Brothers decided to drop that idea and go for a more humor-focused take on Scooby-Doo. Watson then moved on to Beware the Batman. Well, that was a waste of talent. That was some weird experimental 3D show that they had in this really weird 3D era. Even the Green Lantern series got that same experimental 3D. It's a Hal Jordan show, but I just can't watch that kind of animation. It just wasn't it, Chief. And that's a shame. Hal is my favorite Green Lantern, and the most layered, and the fan favorite, and the most popular, but for some reason, outside comics, he is not treated as such. He's also canonically the greatest Green Lantern ever, but still, no respect for him outside of comics. Just look at what the DCU is doing with him. His first appearance in a shared live-action cinematic universe, and he's on the verge of retirement, being replaced by Jon Stewart. Heck, he won't even survive the show he's in. I can't believe the hate Hal gets, man. Anyway, this video is about Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. It's funny to note that the original creators, Joe Ruby and Ken Spears, didn't like the show for being dark and cynical. Dudes, the show was awesome and largely stayed true to what you created. Why the fuss? I can't believe this. Well, we move on to the next one, right? I mean, that's what the creator of the show did and what the studio did. The story felt more organic and focused in the first season. The second season started off really intense, but it wasn't as gripping as the first season. The first season was really dark for a kids show, but the second season lightened up a bit, especially with the more outlandish things that started taking place. I also like how action-oriented the show was becoming. They were still solving mysteries, but there was more action. In one episode, Shaggy straight up fought a dude. That was cool. That was awesome. The show paid tribute to not only the animated series, but the previous shows as well. I'm telling you, this show is really good. I can't sing enough praise for it. One weird thing about it is that when they catch the criminals explain their whole scheme to everyone. I mean, if I were a criminal, I would definitely not explain how I came to do what I did. Maybe I could get away with it even after being caught by the meddling kids. These guys used to just explain everything. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it that the Mystery Incorporated gang explains everything the bad guys did and how by putting together all the clues they put together? That was part of the charm with these guys. When they're done explaining what the bad guys' plans are, the bad guys go like, and I would have gotten away with it, too, if it weren't for you meddling kids. I like how everyone says that was said all the time, but upon my rewatching of these shows, it was barely ever said. That's a weird Mandela effect, yo. Fred's story was treated in a weird way. It was done so well in the first season, but in the second season it was just a background thing. Even the whole thing about his mother getting plastic surgery to look like Daphne and how his dad got plastic surgery to look like him. I mean, dude, that's pretty messed up, man. It wasn't treated with the same severity that you'd expect. In fact, it became a source of comedy because Brad kept making fun of Julie. Their relationship started to look very juvenile, to be honest. We start wondering if maybe the mayor was right to keep Fred to himself. I mean, he turned out all right in the end, being raised by him. Then there are the relationships. Fred and Daphne's relationship made me laugh a lot because Fred was so oblivious to everything. Velma and Shaggy's relationship. Well, it did make me laugh. Or rather, it should have. The thing is, I started this show knowing that they don't end up together, and with the information that Velma is interested in the same flavor ice cream that she has. Of course, I was unaware of how it got to that point, but watching the show, I don't really blame her. Shaggy was very iffy about the relationship. He wasn't really a good boyfriend, considering he chose a freaking dog over her. I mean, yeah, sure, it's Scooby, but come on. And Scooby was an anus in that situation too. How come Scooby himself could get a girlfriend, but Shaggy couldn't? That doesn't sit right with me at all, and it sucks that that was never addressed at all by anyone. I wouldn't expect Shaggy to, but Velma should have brought it up, even as a joke. She does joke about how she isn't conventionally attractive, and there are episodes that do that too. But then there's that episode where guys are gushing over her and she's surprised by it. That's a heavy amount of self-awareness she has. At least she doesn't have low self-esteem. It turns out that you can be unattractive in one place and be a heaven-sent angel in another. You just need to find the right place where you'll be appreciated. P.S. Shaggy and Velma should have still ended up together. Speaking of self-aware, there's an episode where they bring up Flim Flam and Scrappy-Doo. I like how they're like, yeah, let's not talk about him when it comes to Scrappy since the fans hated him. I found Flim Flam's fate a bit odd. He was sentenced to prison for a very long time for scamming people. That's actually pretty dark, man. Speaking of dark, I love their take on Blue Falcon and Dino Mud. It was so dark. Blue Falcon was an intense, brooding guy. Then they linked it to Johnny Quest. I became a Johnny Quest fan because of this show, and I will be legally acquiring the Johnny Quest shows in order to watch them because they're available everywhere in my country in Southern Africa, and streaming is very cheap, especially with VPNs. It's easily accessible for everyone who earns minimum wage here. Yup. So my favorite character in the show is... I actually don't know. I guess I'll go with Fred, even though he was very pathetic when Daphne was dating that Taylor Lautner of the Scooby-Doo universe. Gosh, man, am I really that old? Taylor Lautner in Twilight was almost 20 years ago. My favorite episode was the one when he was in a battle of wits in that house full of traps. I also really like dudes who are completely oblivious to girls who like them. I mean, Daphne could not make it more obvious to him, but he just absolutely didn't know anything about it. Fool! He's a lucky guy, though. Daphne never gave up on him. And she's a total babe. That's the guy right there. He's the guy who got the girl, unlike you, Shaggy. Even the guy who cock-blocked you got a girl, loser. So guys, that's all I can say about the show without making the video overly long. I know a lot of them are all about half an hour long, but I'm trying to make them as short as possible. They'll be long when necessary, and for this show I could talk all day. But then again, I'm kind of tired and feeling lazy to edit a video that long. This year's events took a lot out of me. Worse than the ones last year. I'm still trying to recover. I will eventually. I am one with the Force is with me. Sorry about the long intervals between videos. As I already explained, a lot of stuff happened to me this year, and I am trying my best to keep things together. Anyway, check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and our blog. We have a lot of cool stuff there. Please do. You'll be helping us grow. Have a good day.